Buying a house using your 401k. Is it worth it? Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode at Novarise, your channel for financial education. So today's video will be about should you or should you not use the money in your 401k to buy a property, whether it's for you to use as a primary residence or whether it's to use it as a investment property. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna analyze the steps that you can take, what not to do in your 401k, and then take a look at a couple of scenarios to help you determine whether taking money out of your 401k to invest in a property is the right decision for you or not. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we start, let me remind you to subscribe to this channel and hit the notifications button. All right, so there's two ways for you to take money out of your 401k. The first one is doing it through a withdrawal, and the second one is taking it out as a loan. Now, here, we never take a withdrawal. Why? Because when you take a withdrawal out of your 401k before retirement, that's considered income. And what happens to income is taxed by the IRS. And we don't want that. Yes, you can withdraw the money. You can start taking it out as a distribution when you are hitting retirement age. But the purpose of this episode is to talk about whether you should access your retiring money before you retire. So in this scenario, you should not do a withdrawal. Now, what you want to do is to take out a loan. Why? Because loans are not taxed by the IRS because it's debt. That's the reason why it doesn't get taxed, right? And so depending on your company or depending on the brokerage house that is managing your 401k, the rules might change. But in my experience, the plans that I've had in the past with the 401k has allowed me to take two types of loans. One that's for 3 years, or I can extend it a little bit longer for 5 years. When you're taking a loan for 3 years, the interests are lower, right? However, you get higher monthly payments, right? When you're taking a loan that is longer, in this case 5 years, you wind up paying more in interest over the course of the loan because it's more time. However, your monthly payments tend to be lower because you're actually distributing that debt through a longer period of time, allowing you to get access to a lower monthly payment. In fact, when you compare a mortgage of 15 years versus a 30-year, you will see that the 15-year mortgage will always have a higher monthly payment in comparison to the 30-year mortgage because of the time that it's involved in it. So there's actually an episode that I created not too long ago that talks about the difference between those two mortgages, 15 versus 30. So I highly encourage you to check it out after we're done with this episode so that you can see which of those two loans are more beneficial for you. Now, back to this presentation, right? So now that you know these details right here, withdrawal out of the question, you always want to take a loan. Let's now take a comparison between two scenarios of people who will typically want to buy a property. So the first scenario is for the homeowner, right? Should you take out money out of your 401k if you are a homeowner, or as an investor, right? The real estate investor here. So when you're taking money out of your retirement accounts, right? In this case, your 401k, you need to consider two things, right? One, you're getting into debt with your 401k. Actually, three things. Then you're getting into debt for your house and your mortgage. And then you also have to take into consideration that your 401k is getting smaller. So whatever amount of money that you put in, now it's going to look smaller. And so one thing about being a homeowner is that you always pay back this debt with after-tax dollars, meaning, your active income from your job. So everything is after tax. So that places a higher burden on you because you have to work harder. You have to work on be more disciplined with your budget. And to a certain extent, you will probably have to cut down on expenses. Maybe, not going out as often anymore and stuff like that, right? So you have to take all of this into consideration, especially the after-tax part. Now, how does thing change with an investor, right? But before we do that, if you're enjoying this episode, do not forget to hit the like button right here so you can help this episode rank and help others like you looking for information of this kind. So we have the same equation right here. You're taking money out of your retirement. However, yes, your 401k is getting smaller right here, but you're also getting a house. Yes, there's debt in it, but this debt is being paid by OPM, other people's money, because you're taking that property and you're renting it out. So that debt and the mortgage and also that debt in your 401k is also being paid by other people's money. So in a way, you're shifting that burden onto the rental because now this property is generating income for you. And the beauty of this is that this income is actually pre-tax. You receive the income and then you will need to pay for all your operating expenses, your financial expenses, in this case, the mortgage and the 401k debt. And then whatever's left of it, that's what's going to get taxed. So in a way, it's more advantageous for you because you're building equity in both ways. Yes, your 401k, it's looking a little smaller today, but over time, it's gonna come back up. And while you're doing this, while you're bringing your 401k back up, you're also building equity right here on a property. Now, why do I say that your debt and your mortgage is not considered an equity? Because let's face it, the moment you stop working, you cannot pay for the house. Yes, you're building equity over time, and you have to bear the risk of having that property. And then eventually, after many years, hopefully you have built enough equity. And then in the future, you can take a HELOC or you can take a cash out refi and either use that money to get rid of your 401k loan right here, or just simply use that money and buy a second home or buy your first rental property, whichever use you want to use it. And yes, you can do something similar on this side of the equation as an investor. You can take out a cash out refi and you can use this money to buy another property. But again, this is still OPM. You're all doing it through OPM. With here, you're using your after-tax dollars, and then eventually you will qualify for a cash-out refi or a HELOC. And depending on the use that you're given that money, you will end up either paying with your own after-tax dollars or using OPM to pay it off. Now, for those who want to get a little bit more creative and think, well, it doesn't have to be only in the homeowner's way or as a real estate investor's way. There's got to be another way that allows you to get the best out of both worlds. And yes, you can do this through house hacking, right? So you can buy a property that is a multifamily up to 4 units and you can live in one of them, right? So now you're getting 1 unit that you can use as your primary residence. And then the remaining 3 units, you get to rent out, right? Because when you rent it out, you're generating income. So now you're really taking advantage of the concept of OPM. And for all I know, it might cover all of your mortgage without you needing to put money out of your pocket. But even if it doesn't, at least you're getting some type of financial help in a way that is going to allow you to pay for the debt in your mortgage and also pay for the debt of your 401k all together. So is it worth it? Yes or no? That'll be entirely up to you. That will depend on how far along are you to retirement? Are you early on? How much do you actually have saved? Can you afford to use some of your 401k? But don't be afraid to leverage your 401k to finance one of your properties because it is completely possible for you to do that. Now, of course, you have to keep in mind that when you're taking out a loan of your 401k, that it also needs to fall within the right range of your DTI, which is the debt to income ratio. For those who don't understand what that means, there's an episode that I created not too long ago that covers in depth the definition of DTI and what you should be on the lookout for. So that way you can qualify for the best mortgage rates possible and not let the debt that you have with your 401k impact your DTI. Now, speaking of cash out refis and HELOCs, if you don't know what they are and you're looking to learn from it, here's an episode right here on the side that's gonna help you understand the differences between the two and how they can help you if you're trying to pull equity out of your property. See you in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.